All right, how you guys doing today? We about to hop into the reading of Hebrews chapter 4. First things first, though, just make sure you like that video, man. Hit a little exit full screen, scroll a bit, like it, and then full screen it back up. You feel me? Therefore, since the promise of entering his rest still stands, let us be careful that none of you be found to have fallen short of it. For we also have had the good news proclaimed to us just as they did, but the message they heard was of no value to them, because they did not share the faith of those who obeyed. Now, we who have believed enter that rest, just as God has said. So I declared on oath in my anger, they shall never enter my rest, and yet his works have been finished since the creation of the world. For someone he has spoken about the seventh day in these words, on the seventh day God has rested from all his works. And again in the passage above he says, they shall never enter my rest. Therefore, since it still remains for some to enter that rest, and since those who formerly had the good news proclaimed to them did not go in because of their disobedience, God again set a certain day, calling it today. This he did when a long time later he spoke through David, as in the passage already quoted. Today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts. For if Joshua had given them rest, God would not have spoken later about another day. There remains a Sabbath, rest for the people of God. For anyone who enters God's rest also rests from their works, just as God did from his. Let us therefore make every effort to enter that rest, so that no one will perish by following the example of disobedience. For the word of God is alive and active, sharper than any double-edged sword. It penetrates even to dividing soul and spirit, joints and marrow. It judges the thoughts and attitudes of the heart. Nothing in all of creation is hidden from God's sight. Everything is uncovered and laid bare before the eyes of him to whom he must give account. Therefore, since we have a great high priest who has ascended into heaven, Jesus the Son of God, let us hold firmly to the faith we profess. For we do not have a high priest who is unable to empathize with our weakness, but we have one who has been tempted in every way, just as we are, yet he did not sin. Let us then approach God's throne of grace with confidence, so that we may receive mercy and find grace to help us in our time of need. Let us therefore fear. He's starting with let us, or therefore, let us therefore, so we building off. So we see that they could not enter heaven because of their unbelief. So because they couldn't enter heaven because of their unbelief, let us therefore fear God. For fear that lest a promise being left us of entering into his rest, any of you should seem to come short of it. We fear for fear that a promise being left us. We come short of the promise that was left of us? Is that what it's saying? Since the promise of entering his rest, let us therefore, since the promise remains of entering his rest, let us fear, so any of you should come short of it. Okay, yes. For unto us was the gospel preached, as well as unto them, but the word preached did not profit them, not being mixed with faith in them that heard it. Right, so we heard it, we had faith, which is why it's profitable. They did not have faith, so it's not profitable. For we, which have believed, do enter into rest, as he said, as I have sworn in my wrath, if they shall enter into my rest, although the works were finished from the foundation of the world. So we who have believed enter to his rest, as he said, I swore in my wrath, if they shall enter into my rest. So I think he's saying, like, if they choose, they shall enter into the rest, right? That's what he said. I swore when I was angry, if they choose, that they shall enter my rest. It's a quote, though. So I swore in my wrath, they shall not enter my rest, although the works were finished from the foundation of the world. For only we who believe can enter his rest. As for the others, God said in anger, I took an oath that they will never. Even though this rest has been ready since he made the. Okay, there we go. The works were finished, aka the rest, right? The rest has been finished since he made the world. Okay. For he spoke in a certain place of the seventh day on this wise. In this way, I'm guessing that means. And God did rest the seventh day from all his works. And in this place again, if they shall enter into my rest. That's another quote. I know that. Spoke of the seventh day in the beginning, and God did rest on the seventh day from his works. And in this, if they shall enter into the rest. So two places he mentions that he spoke of the rest, right? Seeing therefore, it remains that some must enter, and they to whom it was first preached entered not because of their unbelief. Again, he limiteth a certain day, saying in David, today after so long a time, as it is said, today if you will hear his voice, harden not your hearts. Again, he designates a certain day, saying in David, today, after such a long time, it has been said. This is from Psalms. Today, if you will hear his voice, do not harden your hearts. David said, today, after such a long time. For Jesus had given them rest, then would he not afterward have spoken of another day? Because it's still today. For if Jesus had given them rest, then would he not afterwards have spoken of another day? There remaineth therefore a rest to the people of God, because he didn't give us rest yet, so there's another day, is what he's saying. Or now, there remaineth the rest, not another day. For he that entered into the rest, he also ceased from his own works as God did from him. So that's why we don't rely on our works, right? We can rest in the fact that we don't have to be perfect. We still try, but we don't have to be perfect. Let us labor therefore to enter into that rest, lest any man should fall under the same example of unbelief, right? So we work to try to get into that work, but we rest from the fact that we don't have to. For the word of God is quick and powerful and sharper than a two-edged sword, piercing even to the dividing asunder of soul and spirit, and to the joints and marrow, and is a discerner of the thoughts and intents of the heart. He can sense out that unbelief, essentially, is what he's trying to say. Quick and powerful, sharper than any sword, he can cut away your soul and your spirit. It's the joints and the marrow, discerner of the thoughts and the intents. Neither is any creature that is not manifest into his sight, but all things are naked and open to the eyes of him with whom we have to do. There's no creature hidden from his sight, but all things are naked and open to the eyes. We must give account. Okay. Nothing's hidden because everybody has to give account to him. He sees it all. Yep. Seeing then that we have a great high priest that is presented, or that is passed into the heavens, sees the Son of God, let us hold fast to our profession. For we have not an high priest which cannot be touched with the feeling of our infirmities, right? He knows what we go through, right? That was the end of chapter 2. So let us hold fast to our profession, feeling our infirmities, right? He cannot be touched with the feelings. He can, but was in all points tempted as we are, yet without sin. Let us therefore come boldly unto the throne of grace, that we may attain mercy and find grace to help in the time of need. Because he would suffer the same way. He's gracious. He's going to give us that grace to deal with ours. All right, that's going to be the end of the video. Hope you guys have some fantastic rest of your day. Peace.